We got the luckiest people who survived the impossible. Let's dig in.
Stephen, an experienced truck driver from New Zealand, was working on his truck. He was positioned between the truck's bumper and the trailer when something crazy happened. He slipped and fell, but something felt off.
I don't slip.
He didn't feel just regular pain.
Nobody rewind to the beginning of the stream where I clearly slipped and fell on my ass.
He felt his body inflating like a balloon.
Yeah!
Nearly doubling in size. His colleagues and his son rushed to help him, quickly realizing what had actually happened. Stephen had fallen onto the brass valve that supplies compressed air
went up his
to the truck's
butt?
brakes. The valve punctured his bum, forcing pressurized air into his
Oh,
lungs. They
snap!
immediately shut off the air supply, laid him on the ground, and called an ambulance. Unfortunately, both emergency vehicles in the area were occupied, forcing him to wait in that state for an—
Guys, isn't it crazy that at some point in your lifespan, you're gonna have to go to the doctor and let the doctor, while you're knocked out, fiddle with a tube in your butt crack? I'm sorry, it's called a colonoscopy. Everyone's gonna have to do it. Unless you want nefarious diseases that'll ruin your life. But just understand that at some point, every dude's gonna have a large cylindrical object up their butt crack. I don't make the rules.
Entire hour. When he finally arrived at the hospital, doctors understood the severity of his condition. The air had separated fat tissue from muscle, filling his abdomen, chest, and even the spaces around his lungs.
So he followed the cut with it by falling onto some bullshit up his butt. So is the method for losing weight with the most efficacy falling on pressurized air and having it blow up your butt crack? Guys, this revolutionizes modern medicine.
Heart and behind his eyelids. To help him breathe, doctors inserted a tube through his ribs and into his lungs. As for the trapped air, it had to be expelled naturally through farts, a process that took 3 days.
Imagine how bad they smelled. And the people will judge you for it, right? Like, this guy would go to his local grocery store, let out a Dusty Martin, and motherfuckers would judge him for farting when in reality it's saving his life. But if somebody coughs and gives you COVID-20, that's fine. I don't buy it.
Stephen made a full recovery, and doctors later determined that if the valve had punctured another part of his body, it could have damaged a blood vessel, and he would have died. Joan Murray was an experienced skydiver, having already completed 35 jumps. It was supposed to be just another routine dive, and as she plummeted at 120 miles per hour, she attempted to deploy her parachute. I say attempted because it didn't open. After multiple tries—
Would you guys ever skydive? I feel like I'm low-key bitch made if I don't skydive at least one point in my life, right? But the problem is everybody will have to do this. You have to have a dude strapped behind you while you jump, right? So while you're in the most terrifying moment of your life, there's just nothing but dick on your booty. I hate to be that guy who paints that picture for you, but it's necessary. So if the parachute didn't go off, you die with dick on your booty.
She reached for her reserve parachute, which, to her relief, deployed successfully. However, another problem quickly arose. She began spinning uncontrollably, causing the parachute's cords to tangle into a knot, rendering it useless. She crashed into the ground at 80 miles per hour, and upon impact, she heard a loud crack before losing consciousness. Joan fell into a coma and was rushed to the hospital, where doctors performed multiple complex reconstructive surgeries and blood transfusions. The entire right side of her body was crushed, yet incredibly, 2 weeks later—
She's got me in Obito's whole fucking flow! What's the big idea? Obito did it first and 10 times better.
She woke up from the coma and made a full recovery.
With the ghost of the Uchiha in front of her?
Was just crazy. By pure chance, she landed directly on a fire ant nest, disturbing the venomous ants. In response, they came out of their nests and swarmed her body, stinging and biting her over 2—
Guys, if this was me, I'd literally be dead. I'm dead serious. I have a scar from getting bit by a fire ant. Why? Because I'm like 100% allergic or something like that. That is the world's strongest streamer's one weakness, a mild fire ant bite.
Stinging and biting her over 200 times. Fire ant venom, known as solanopsin, stimulates the nervous system. The overwhelming amount of it that was injected into her body kept her heart beating until paramedics arrived, saving her life. Margaret Guire.
Damn.
Margaret was a young—
Do you think the ants were low-key locked in for that? Do you think the ants maybe were like, damn, that bitch got fucked up. Everybody, let's help her out. Let's do some good and maybe the humans will stop stomping on us. Do you think maybe? I don't know.
Canadian woman who had just married her husband, Herbert, in 1915. To celebrate, they—
Imagine dating a dude named Herbert, and yet I still don't have a girlfriend. I just
decided to take a trip and boarded the RMS Lusitania in New York City, bound for Liverpool. They were enjoying their trip, having a routine dinner on the ship, when suddenly they heard a loud boom. The ship had been torpedoed by a German submarine.
God
Herbert
damn, I hate when that
immediately escorted
happens.
his wife Margaret to a lifeboat, where she was joined by 3 other women and a baby. However, as she looked up, she saw the ship's massive smokestacks above them, and she feared they might collapse onto their lifeboat. In a moment of panic, she climbed back up the stairs to the deck, while Herbert, believing she was safe, boarded another lifeboat.
Oh,
with other
you
passengers.
fucking
As the
pussy,
Lusitania-
Herbert. See, if Herbert was a real man who benched 225, he would have got into that smokestack and be all like, "You ladies all right?"
Lusitania rapidly sank. Margaret tried to swim away from the wreckage, but her efforts were in vain. A whirlpool formed as the ship submerged, pulling her and 2 other men into one of the smokestacks. Miraculously,
Fuck!
a sudden explosion from below blasted her back to the surface, where she was spotted and
That's
rescued by a
low-key
nearby
fire.
lifeboat. As she looked around, she saw Herbert in another lifeboat crying, believing she had died.
Oh, pussy.
Julie McSorley. Julie McSorley and Liz Cottrell were kayaking in San Luis Obispo, California, drawn by a spectacular event, humpback whales feeding on fish in the bay. There were lots of tourists on their boats and kayaks watching the whole thing, and even though whale watching is a popular act.
Why do whales have the most sus names possible? Humpback, sperm whale. I'm merely an observer. I'm just seeing the landscape of zoology as I'm seeing it. I don't got any thoughts. I'm just merely bringing them to you.
Activity, it comes with important safety precautions. Experts recommend staying at least 300 feet away from the feeding zone to avoid dangerous encounters.
Probably a good idea.
Unfortunately, Julie and Liz misjudged the distance. A tightly packed swarm of fish, known as a bait ball, suddenly moved alarmingly close to them. But they weren't the only ones to notice. Their presence had also caught the attention of a humpback whale. Before they had time to react, the whale lunged forward to swallow the fish, but in the process, it also scooped up Julie and Liz. Trapped inside its
And
massive
Liz?
mouth, they probably thought that they were about to be swallowed whole. After all, humpback whales can grow up to 50.
Guys, you get swallowed by a whale, what's the first thing you're doing? I'm setting up camp. I'm finding out where the uvula is, wherever the thing that swings whenever you're like, yeah. And just because whenever it gulps, I gotta be ready to grab onto that bitch just so that I don't fall into the stomach, right? But then I gotta locate the exit. And then I gotta kind of like maybe tickle the roof of its mouth. Guys, you ever got the mouth of your tickle? The roof of your mouth tickle. That's right. It feels a little bit unpleasant, almost eliciting a sneeze of sorts. Except the sneeze doesn't come out the nose, comes out the blowhole. I get the motherfucker to sneeze, and I eject from the top. And then if anybody sees me, hopefully there's like a cruise ship nearby full of like unusually rich fine shines, and they just see me emerge from the blowhole of a whale, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's literally Poseidon, god of the 7 seas." And then I get heralded as the god of the 7 seas, which is not a bad trade.
6 feet long, a huge size from a human perspective. However, despite their enormous mouths, humpback whales have relatively small throats, only about the size of a human fist, and capable of stretching to just 15 inches in diameter. They also lack teeth, meaning the 2 women weren't crushed. Luckily, the whale's natural instinct is to spit out anything that isn't fish.
Yo, why are the whales so fucking sus? The whale got a small throat, it spits out, and its name is a sperm whale. Like, what? Now I kind of know why they have freaky ass names.
And that's exactly what happened. Moments later, Julie and Liz were spat out from the whale's mouth and surfaced unharmed.
Is that you, Gianni? The fucking whale, you donkey!
Matthew Lowe. Matthew was heading to his factory for a routine shift, just like any other day. Upon arriving, he immediately...
Damn, he's employed. And he survived that? That's all I think. The story could end there.
As he walked past an automated conveyor belt, he suddenly felt his overalls snag on something. Unfortunately, it was the conveyor itself. Before he could react, he was pulled onto the belt and dragged toward a 5-inch opening. Within
Dude,
seconds,
that's like a... Oh, fuck. That's like a Toy Story 3-esque scenario. I don't know why. I thought that scenario was like... I would imagine myself in it back in the day when I was a jit. And like, Loki, how would I survive that? And then I came to the conclusion that I'm not gonna trust the main villain of the fucking movie to save my life. What kind of dumbass logic was that?
His entire body was forced through the narrow tunnel. He could hear the cracks of his bones as the machine spat him out on the other side. Miraculously, he remained conscious. Matthew's agonizing screams
How the fuck
alerted
is that
his coworkers,
miraculous?
who rushed to the scene. What they saw was horrifying. His back was broken in 2 places, his pelvis, ribs, and hips were nearly completely crushed, and his abdomen was severely torn. He was rushed to the
Rip
hospital,
getting abs.
but doctors had little hope for his survival. They even advised his partner to prepare for the worst.
No.
However, against all odds, Matthew survived. After 6 surgeries and a month in the hospital,
Matthew is locked the fuck in. That's my dog, Matt. He's mingled and shit. No, not a Five Nights at Freddy's reference. But he still pulled out on top. That's that shit right there. That's G-Force material.
Slowly began to recover. 18 months later, he made a full recovery and even returned to work. Taiba, a young Indian girl, went out for a walk when she came across a construction site. Intrigued, she decided to explore the area. The site was
ain't
filled
a construction
with debris and
site.
half-finished
It's fucking
structures,
quicksand.
making it
Yo, guys, were you ever worried that you just might be going to school one day, walking, you know, you got your Lunchables in hand, you got your homework that you kind of halfway done because you didn't have enough time, but you still wanted to show for something whenever you pulled up in school so that you wouldn't get made fun of by fine shit, and then you stumbled across a bit of quicksand, and then you're fucked. And then you're not going to school. Your mother will never find you because you're engulfed by the quicksand. Guys, this was a genuine worry for me. Because anytime I saw it, it was like, imagine not being able to leave. You're just... I have never encountered a bit of quicksand in my life, so I'm good.
The site was filled with debris and half-finished structures, making it extremely risky to navigate, especially without proper equipment or experience. As she walked through the site, she tripped and fell neck-first onto a long metal rod protruding from a brick. Bystanders witnessed the
Pause on long rods.
horrifying scene and immediately called for an ambulance. When Taiba arrived at the hospital, doctors were left stunned. Miraculously, the rod had missed all vital nerves and blood vessels in her head.
How the fuck would you, like, are you just pulling out there like... Help me! That's fucked up. She actually had to deal with this.
After a 35-minute surgery, doctors successfully removed the rod. Amazingly, she was
pause on removing the rods. Like,
discharged just 3 days later. Had she fallen just a few inches further forward, she would have died. Frane Selak. Frane Selak is an elderly music teacher from Croatia, and he's both the luckiest and unluckiest man on earth. His first crazy experience happened in 1962 when he was on a train. A fault in the tracks caused the train to derail and plunge into the freezing river below. Most
where was
passengers
Spidey?
died in the crash.
Dude, where was Spidey to do the fucking, you know?
Or drowned in the submerged train, but Frane miraculously survived with only a broken arm and managed to swim to shore. In 1963, just a year after the train incident, he was on a small plane when, mid-flight, both engines failed. As the aircraft went into a free fall.
Hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. That's two extremely unusual things happening to your mode of transportation. I don't mean to be that guy. These aren't shitty coincidences. Someone is trying to murk you. It's one thing to have your train derailed and end up in the damn Pacific Ocean. It's an entirely separate thing to have not one but two engines fail on your aircraft. If that happened to me, I'm like, all right, who the fuck did I piss off? I'm getting out of the damn board with all the rubber bands and, you know, and connecting my dots and circling shit with a red expo marker, and I'm cracking the damn case. Because at this point, somebody is out to get your shit. I hope Frane gets to the bottom of this.
A malfunctioning door blew open, yanking Frane out of the plane. Without a parachute, he must have thought he was going to die. The plane crashed into a hill, killing all 19 passengers on board. However, Frane survived by landing on a haystack.
What in the Assassin's Creed bullshit is that, bro? Are we serious? Like, how often do you guys see just like a random lump of hay in front of you? Never! I don't even know what hay looks like outside of Minecraft. So the fucking fact that he falls out of a plane and lands in a perfectly stacked pile of hay and saves his life, that's insane! That's bull-hunky!
Escaping with only minor injuries. 2 years later, in 1965, he was traveling on a bus that was
Are we serious? You decided to go on more public transportation after having literally... Dude, he's had land, air, and sea incidents now.
Crossing a bridge. The icy conditions caused the bus's wheels to lock up, sending the vehicle crashing through the safety barrier and into the valley below. 4 passengers lost their lives, yet Frane survived once again.
What, was there fucking dust bunny under the seat of the bus that he was able to use as like a navigating compass to find himself an exit just in the nick of time?
Multiple accidents involving public transportation, he decided to rely on his own car.
Final fucking Lee, you'd think so.
Find that it wasn't any safer. In 1970, while driving, his engine suddenly burst into flames. Miraculously, he managed to jump out in time and survived. But this wasn't his only fire. 3 years later, in 1973, while driving another car...
Bro, death is on this motherfucker's ass. He just will not let up. At a certain point, are you just like, fine! Take me! But this is the indomitable human spirit. If true. Guys, this is big if true. Johnny, would a window variant be able to beat a Gianni variant? No.
Pump ruptured, causing yet another fire. This time, the flames were blown directly toward him through the air vents. Despite suffering burns, he once again managed to escape. As if that weren't enough, in 1975, he survived being hit by a bus. Then, just a year later,
he got hit by a fucking bus. Who was the bus driver? That's the culprit, for fuck's sake! At a certain point, he was tired of the malarkey. He just took the wheel himself. He said, no, I'm crashing into this dude. It's up with it.
He had another near-death experience when his car fell off a mountain road, plummeting 3...
No. No, at this point, no. There is no way this happened. At a certain point, and this is on his self, is he the main op? Wait a second. Maybe this version that's about to crash into the floor is a time traveler who goes back in time and tries to rig himself to get fucked up for some unknown reason. No, that's terrible.
300 feet after a careless driver forced him off the road. The car exploded upon impact, but Frayne managed to survive by jumping out of the vehicle's window mid-fall and landing on a tree. And
dude, this guy has mastered the triangle button of GTA. Like, this guy he has that shit on speed dial. The second anything he senses is going sideways, he just immediately spams the fucking triangle button.
By the way, he won the lottery in 2003.
No,